No, not that cat. This cat. The last link of the only language family spreading between the old world and the new. The last of its kind still remain in Eurasia, and the last of its speakers are old. To understand ket, you first need to understand its story and the story of its family. The Yenisei language families had been in a decline for centuries, but this was only hastened by the arrival of the Russians in the 16th century. The first of the family to go was Pumpical, followed shortly by Aaron in the 1700s. The next to go were Asan and Kot. A little is known about these languages, but nothing substantial. The most recently extinct branch of the language family, which is also the most closely related to ket, Yuk, died in the 1970s and was, until recently, the most well-known and documented language of the Yenisei family. Finally, ket, the only surviving language of the group, had been extensively documented and recorded by Dr. Stefan Georg and Dr. Edward Vajda. This video would not be possible without their research. Links to their work is available in the description. My favorite part of the ket language is a verb, which is completely bonkers and so different than anything else you've ever seen before. It could not be figured out by any linguist until Dr. Vajda was able to figure out just recently, and even still it's a little bit fuzzy. Previously, some thought the ket verb was divided into 15 position classes. Others believed there were fewer, and still others believed it was entirely a regular system, where you just needed to memorize everything. This was until Vajda came along and broke up the verb into 10 position classes. 2 classes are necessary to be grammatical: a root, which forms the base of any word built off of it. For instance, an English root is bene, from which we can build the words benefit, benefactor, and benign. And a subject person, which can be di, ku, do, or da. In English, this would be I, you, he, she, or it. If you want to talk about multiple people, you plural, we, or they, you have to use the final position class. This position class is the only class that comes after the root and is responsible for changing I, you singular, or he, she, it into we, you plural, or they, for transitive subjects and active subjects. Before I continue, it's necessary to say that this structure reflects a regular pattern. There are other ways to show plurality, but there are far too many to cover them all in this video, and I need to simplify it in order to explain it concisely. With that out of the way, let's move on to the incorporate in the prefix position 7. Because the ket language only has around 45 roots, in comparison, English is almost 120 root words, and most of these roots do not have a clear meaning, it's necessary to pack more information into a different part of the verb. That's where the incorporate comes in. The incorporate incorporates a different part of speech, a morpheme, nouns, adjectives, or even other verbs onto the root in order to clarify or expand on the meaning of the root. An example of this is the phrase sul debet. If I were to incorporate the noun sul, or snow sled, into the verb, I would simply place it into its spot at position 7 after the required subject marker, but before anything else, to form the sul debet, or I'm sled making. Now let's skip to position 5. Position 5 is home to the thematic marker. The thematic marker is not entirely clear what it does, but sometimes it denotes trajectory or shape, but most of the time it's unclear. Position 2 is very straightforward as far as ket prefixes go. It simply marks that the action of the verb happened in the past. Finally, the valence positions. These are positions 8, position 6, position 4, sometimes, positions 3, and positions 1. These positions are assigned to mark who the action was done by, who it affected, who received it, and other grammatical cases. But how did ket get so complex? To understand this, we have to look at the languages surrounding ket. Nearly all of the neighboring languages have almost the exact opposite verb structure to ket. Instead of adding everything as a prefix, they add everything as a suffix. The ket people often married women from surrounding tribes who spoke different languages into their own communities. Because most of these women spoke highly suffixing languages, the ket system of prefixing was very foreign to them. And because most of them learned ket as adults, they never fully grasped this suffixing system. As they taught this corrupted form of the language to their children, it caused ket to have many suffixing-like qualities while still being a prefixing language. You can literally see this influence in how the incorporate functions, the second root turning all the prefixes after it into suffixes. A second reason why the language is so complicated is because there are so many drop sounds that only show up in certain circumstances. Take, for example, the phrase, you fly up, or kuldok. When you make it past tense, you flew up, it changes to kildok, dropping the U from ku. To add to the mess, all sources on the language are from different people in different towns who speak slightly differently from each other, which makes everything seem like an irregular and you can't figure anything out. Ket is a remarkable language that has managed to outlast its family. However, that time is ending, and within a few years' time, the language will be extinct. Despite this, the language lives on because of the work of many linguists over the centuries. Everything needed to revive the language has been recorded, from the incredible structure of the verb to the reconstructed history of the language. All that's needed now are people who truly care to study and understand the language.